Hello, and welcome to the Gateway 3 application for bead services training video. In this course, you will learn how to get to the application for bead services landing page, as well as how to complete and submit an application. With Gateway 3 implementation, the web address will not change. It remains as bdds gateway.fssa.in.gov. Let's start by reviewing the Bead Services application homepage. The homepage for the Bead Service application first displays the Bureau of Disability Services mission. The page then jumps into a welcome message and begins giving helpful information and links. Information about using an Access Indiana account to submit the application is also provided. To access additional detailed information about Access Indiana, please refer to the Access Indiana Account Management training video on the FSSA YouTube account. The home page goes on to inform the applicant of the required information that needs to be provided in the application and the additional information that is required if the applicant is a minor or is an adult that has someone who has been legally designated to help make decisions. Finally, the application provides the user with links for application supporting documents and district office locations in Indiana. The bottom section has a checkbox that the user must check to confirm that the homepage instructions have been read. This must be checked before the Start Application button is available. If you do choose to submit the application while signed into your Access Indiana account, you will not see the Guest Application button, only a Start Application button. Next, we will review the 8 steps of the application process. Step 1 of 8. Upon starting the application, if you are not signed into Access Indiana, you will be reminded that you are not logged in and any progress made on the application will be lost if you remain inactive on the application for 15 minutes. As long as you add data to a field or continue to the next step within the 15 minutes, your application will not time out. Step 1 asks only one question. What is the applicant's Social Security number? If the applicant does not have a Social Security number, in the drop-down menu, select ITIN and enter their ITIN number. Click the Next button to move to Step 2. Step 2 of 8. Step 2 begins by requiring a selection for who is filling out the application for the applicant. If you select I am helping someone who is applying, you will see an additional required question asking about your relationship to the applicant. Next, you'll be required to enter the applicant's name and date of birth. The last question, which is not required, asks if the applicant currently has Medicaid. If yes is selected, an additional field asking for their Medicaid number displays. This additional field is not required to be answered if the applicant's Medicaid number is not known. We now see a back button at the bottom of Step 2, which will take you back to the previous step if needed. As always, the Next button takes you to the next step. Step 3 of 8. Step 3 begins by asking for the description of the applicant's living situation. Step 3 first asks for the applicant's mailing address. Under that, there is an optional checkbox asking if the current living address is different than their mailing address. If this is true, check the box and enter the current living address. If it is not true, leave it unchecked and the application will automatically assume the mailing and living address are the same. When entering the applicant's phone number, at least one phone type, home, mobile, or work, must be selected as the primary. Then enter the email address if applicable. It's important to note the gateway application will require at least one of the three previous fields to be entered. That is, it will require the entry of the mailing address or the primary phone number or the applicant's email address. You will not be able to move to the next step until at least one of those fields is complete. Finally, for step 3, you are asked to enter at what age the applicant was diagnosed with an intellectual or developmental disability and to briefly describe how the applicant's disability affects their daily life. If an address was entered, the USPS address validation will confirm your address. If the address is not found, you will be made aware. If a better match for the address is found, it will ask which version of the address you would like to use. Step 4 of 8. Step 4 contains a lot of optional questions. It begins by asking for the applicant's gender and marital status. Next is the applicant's current student status. If yes is selected, you're asked for their current educational program. If no is selected, you're asked for their highest level of education they achieved. Next, you are asked for the applicant's ethnicity, race, and their preferred language. You are then asked if the applicant has ever been assessed by vocational rehabilitation services. The last question of step 4 asks if the applicant has someone who has been legally designated to help make decisions. If the applicant's date of birth indicates they are less than 18 years old, this question will not appear and it will require the step 5 legal representative information. For individuals 18 and above, this question allows a yes or no selection. If no is selected, you will skip step 5. If yes is selected, you will be required to complete step 5. Step 5 of 8. Step 5 begins by asking for the legal representative's name. Next, you are required to choose the legal representative's relationship to the applicant. Next, enter the legal representative's mailing address. If applicable, check the box to indicate that their current residential address is different from their mailing address. Then enter the current address. Next, enter the legal representative's primary phone number and email address. Just as it's true for the applicant, for the legal representative, you're required to complete at least one of the three previous fields: a mailing address, a primary phone number, or an email address. Choose the legal representative's preferred language, then select whether the applicant has a second legal representative. If yes is selected, all the same fields for the first legal representative will display again to be completed for the second legal representative. Again, after clicking Next, if you entered an address, the USPS validation will appear to have you confirm the entry. Step 6 of 8. Step 6 is the application summary step. All the information entered from each step will appear grouped together in sections. If any data that was entered needs changed, use the Edit Section button in the section to return to that step. We chose to edit the section that contained the applicant's date of birth. The change to the date of birth is complete, and at the bottom we are given a new button to return to summary. When the Return to Summary button is clicked, we are returned to Step 6, and the change to the date of birth can be seen in the summary of the general information. Once the information has been reviewed and the corrections have all been completed, click the Next button at the bottom of the step. Step 7 of 8. Step 7 allows the applicant and legal representative the ability to upload supporting documentation. This step is completely optional. Use the Upload File button to search your computer for the file to upload. Once the file is attached, it will be submitted with your application and will be viewable by BEAD staff. If you completed the application for BEAD services while logged into Access Indiana, you have the ability to upload the documents anytime after the application submission. Step 8 of 8. Step 8 is the signature page. Because the applicant has a legal representative, the legal representative's signature is required to submit the application. The signature of the applicant is optional if there is a legal representative. Once the application has been signed and the Submit button has been clicked, you will be given an opportunity to print a PDF version of the application. As the message states, if you are completing this application and are not logged into Access Indiana, this will be the only chance to print your application. Click the Print and Submit button to print your application and submit it, or click the Submit Only button to submit the application without printing. If the Print and Submit button is clicked, a PDF will be downloaded to your internet browser's download queue and will be available for print or for download to your computer. The final screen of the application gives information on the process now that the application is submitted to BEADS. Thank you for participating in this training on the Gateway 3 application for BEADS services.